Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We are here indeed with the dreaded man himself, Hellman Ghorst, going to be taking on the Wood Elves. This is in fact game 2 of the Best of 3 series with myself and Zardar, Total Warrior. This is from the Flash tournament that we fought the other day on Turn's channel. This is again game 2. I had taken the first game with my Skaven victory over his Chaos. This time I picked Vampires first, and then he counterpicked me with the Wood Elves, which is a great counterpick to the Vampires. So I decided to have some fun and bring the old Ghorst Master here. He's definitely not the most competitive choice in any sense. Maybe against the Dwarfs he has a niche, but we'll talk about that at a later date. For today, Hellman Ghorst against the Wood Elves is probably just terrible. What makes him so terrible is he's so slow. 23 speed means he's probably the slowest legendary lord in the game. He does have some decent abilities and spells, but only 45 armor, and being on this corpse cart makes him relatively squishy and slow. He's got the magical animus, he's got Awaken from the Grave, which summons Graveguard and or a White King. If you overcast, it'll summon a White King. We've also got Dance Macabre and Invocation with the Reliquary Corruption. This is the same ability that's on the Mortis engine, so those effects do not stack. Then he has, you know, the typical corpse card abilities, the Unholy Lodestone, Vigor Mortis, Master of the Dead that all the Necromancer characters have. And that's pretty much it. So, I mean, he definitely can put out a lot of healing and also has the area of effect damage of the Mortis engine. It's just that he's so much slower than a Mortis engine, and he's also your Lord wrapped up in that package, so he's very, very squishy, very goonable, and particularly against the Wood Elves can be a huge risk, but I figured let's have some fun. Got 2 units of Fellbats as well, a single Blood Knight. We've got Varix Reavers and Dire Wolves over on this side, 2 of them. Over on this side, we've got some more Dire Wolves and the Dire Pack, Regiment of Renown, with their bonus versus large. And then the front line is a mix of Graveguard with some Skeleton Spears and Skeleton Warriors, I believe. Or nope, just Graveguard and Skeleton Spears. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the Wood Elf build here. So Zardar, Total Warrior, got a very strong Wood Elf build in my opinion, going for a bit of a Tree Man Death Star here with Durthu and a Tree Man. He's also got a Branch Wraith with some healing, Melkos, and Penumbral Pendulum. Front line is going to be Eternal Guards with shields. He's got 2 Spear Dancers and 2 Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shiver Shards. Interesting pick in this matchup. These guys can dish out a ton of damage at relatively short range, only 135, making them one of the shorter range units of the Wood Elves, but they do fire 2 shots per volley and can put out an immense amount of damage on low armor targets. He also has 1 unit of Sisters of Thorn, and that's pretty much it. So let's kick the battle into full gear, and we'll watch as these bats make the approach here and start to catch some arrows with their face, which is, you know, it's arguable if this is worthwhile, but probably not at the end of the day, just losing the bats outright. I want to try and keep them online to tie these guys down if possible. So to that effect, we're going to be pulling them back and trying to maybe, you know, come in and out a little bit to dodge some of those shots. Zardar moving his spears in response here, and most people, including myself, don't realize, you know, I previously have said that hounds count as large, but they in fact do not. If we look at their unit card here, they actually are a small unit. This is a small entity size, meaning they're not subject to charge defense against large or bonus versus large, which is what these guys have. You can see here charge defense against large on both the War Dancers and the Eternal Guards here. So yeah, both units are not going to be resistant to the charge of the hounds, and you can see on both sides we're just kind of cycling in and out here. We got a nice flank charge with the Varix Reavers on these Eternal Guards here, and now we're pulling back away. But again, just the hounds being used here to harass these Azrai Spear and these Eternal Guards and so on. You can see Durthu's coming out towards this flank, whereas in the main line, Grave Guard will definitely be able to cut their way through these Eternal Guard no problem. The Grave Guard with their anti-infantry bonus and pretty solid overall combat stats will definitely shine in this regard. The Eternal Guards will be able to do a little bit of damage there, but you can see we're collapsing the flank pretty hard over here, at least trying to. Those Varix Reavers are taking a lot of damage from the focus fire from the Deepwood Scouts. Very nice Penumbral Pendulum going down on the front line for my opponent. We're going to use these Blood Knights to charge in here and try and get in on Durthu. Obviously, they have a bonus versus large and awesome combat stats. Dropping that Invocation of the Heck just to keep everyone nice and healthy, but unfortunately these Eternal Guards haven't quite been routed off yet. Looks like Durthu is also going to be dropping the Sword of Daith effect there, so That does damage and lowers the armor of all the units in his pocket, which is very, very useful. After a long and arduous journey across the battlefield, the Ghorst Master is indeed himself in the battle now, going to be providing all those buffs and the reliquary corruption and all that jazz. So he's definitely standing in there, not really fighting, but doing his evil cackle thing. You can see the back lines kind of turn into a little bit of chaos, and this is by design here. We're trying to use these hounds to chase down routing units, get as much value from them out of them as we can here. So you can see these Eternal Guards getting eaten up by hounds. We're soon going to drop a rear charge on these Azrai Spear as well. In the back line, the Varric Reaver is kind of being sacrificed a little bit here. They're tying down one unit of Deepwood Scouts, but also being mucked up in a lot of these units as well. We did manage to summon some Grave Guard in the back line, who are doing very well for themselves. You can see overall the Wood Elf Infantry is starting to crumble pretty badly. The issue for me is I don't have a lot that can deal with the Tree Men. Only really the Blood Knights have the bonus versus large to deal with the Tree Men. I mean, obviously the Dire Pack do have bonus versus large as well, but they really don't have the combat stats or AP values to stand and fight there. They are getting charged, unfortunately, by these Sisters of Thorn here, which, I mean, the Sisters will take some damage due to the bonus versus large there, but it is going to be a little bit of an even trade, so I might lose the Dire Pack in that situation. You can see the Grave Guard have pushed down to the second line, going to be fighting these Azrai Spear. And then in the front line, Durthu and his Tree Man buddy here. They're trying to go after the Ghorst Master, but getting a little bit distracted by the Blood Knights pinning them in here. And we need to try and keep these Blood Knights online if at all possible. They're pretty much my only ticket into beating Durthu and the other Tree Man here. But again, we're trying to do as much as possible to shut down all his infantry here. So you can see the Sisters of Thorn actually taking the worst end of that engagement. We're going to be chasing him down with the Dire Pack and these other wolves here, doing a ton of damage and hopefully finishing off their leadership. But it does look like some of them are going to get through onto these Grave Guard. I believe that was a Lamentation of Despair that just went off over there. You can see my opponents are, Zardar's Treemen are pathing very aggressively after the Ghorst Master, so he's having to run away despite his evil cackle and all that jazz. But yeah, we're pulling back the Blood Knights just to try and get a little bit of healing. They also had been hit with the Curse of Anraer, so we don't want to stand and fight while that effect is up. Yeah, you can see we're able to chase off the Sisters of Thorn there. We're also getting on these Rally Deepwood Scouts here, and a lot of my opponent's units are routed off at this point. Pretty much all the support is gone. It's just the Tree Men at this point. So you can see here, Durthu does get a really nice Sword of Death, just draining away these Blood Knights, and they're rapidly approaching their healing cap. So despite them racking up an XP Chevron and just about another one, it looks like they are going to be finished off here, unfortunately, with the Sword of Death and everything combined. They drop their leadership too hard, and then suddenly they're crumbled away. And once they're crumbled away, although the balance of power looks to be in my favor, it's going to be pretty tough for me to come back from this. You can see the War Dancers here rallying, trying to finish off some of these Skeleton Spears. In the back line, we've got Grave Guard fighting with the support of the Hounds here, finishing off, again, more War Dancers, as the Eternal Guard also come in here, try and help out. Unfortunately, I do think we lost out the Dire Pack just due to crumbling. The issue with the Direwolves is they have pretty poor leadership, so once they take damage, they're pretty hard to keep alive, just because they'll constantly crumble. But yeah, you can see Durthu has taken quite a bit of damage at the end of the day, as has this other Tree Man. They've just been wet noodled here so many times by all these skeletons in his pocket. You know, getting the Vigor Mortis from Ghorst is definitely helping here, and the Reliquary Corruption will drain them, albeit incredibly slowly. It's really not a cost-efficient drain, but it will drain nonetheless. You can see a final rear charge in here from these crumbling Hounds, going to be trying to finish off the leadership of these War Dancers, and it does look like they're going to be routed off just due to sheer numbers here. They just can't compete with these skeletons of high numbers still, and so they're going to shatter, and at this point it's pretty much just the Tree Men Death Star. So let's fast forward a little bit here, as Ghorst does get chased around by the big angry Tree Man. And yeah, at this point, Ghorst is so slow I can't really get away. It's in my benefit just to stand and fight here, so at least I'm getting the benefit of that 44 melee defense, while my infantry try and catch up here. We've still got the Hounds, and actually the Dire Pack I thought were gone, but it looks like they're actually still holding out here, so that bonus versus large will help out a little bit here against Durthu and the other Tree Men. You can see they're getting low on health, and hopefully we'll be able to finish them off. It all depends. Ghorst is unfortunately just so slow. He can't get away from Durthu. We do have some Rally Deepwood Scouts here as well, getting off a few shots there. And, you know, Ghorst on the Corpse Cart does only have 45 armor, so he is going to be pretty weak to the non-armor piercing missile fire of those Deepwood Scouts. But, again, a really nice Sword of Death here. And, man, that Sword of Death has been generating massive value for Durthu, draining away all the units in his pocket. Very, very important, and he gets a few good swings there on Helm and Ghorst. Probably going to be finishing him off here. And with Helm Ghorst going down, the balance power is going to tip back in Zardar's favor here. That being said, we're going to try and get off one last summon here, and we do indeed get it off before Ghorst goes down. So let's watch here. You can see this White King is fighting. So I was hoping that the White King would be enough to finish off the Treeman's leadership here. You know, if he's standing in this pocket of skeletons here and maybe getting rear attacks or something, he could potentially do a little bit of damage here. But at this point, Ghorst is so low, he's crumbling. His healing effects aren't enough to keep him alive, and one more whack from this Treeman's probably going to finish him off, and down goes the Ghorst Master. I'm not sure where he himself actually got swept off to, but nevertheless, his corpse cart is here. Very, very sad day for the Ghorst Master, but it's not over yet. You can see there's still quite a bit of time left on the bounce. On the battle timer there. So let's go ahead and fast forward just a little bit here as my White King kind of chases some units off. Durthu looking to get another Lamentation of Despair, but you can see the White King fighting in here. And oh man, he just got slapped. But he's going to get back up. Don't worry too much about him, and we're actually going to path him to go after this Branch Wraith here because it's very low, and he does have pretty good combat stats overall. Pretty good melee defense at 48, and he will be able to finish off that Branch Wraith there. So the Branch Wraith is routed now, and Durthu himself getting very, very low on leadership just because of the nature of the situation here. We are still ahead on the bounce power quite a bit, so let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit as these Treemen try and run away here, and we'll see if we can finish things off. But at this point, Durthu and the Treemen both stand and fight, and they're both facing. We also get another really nice Sword of Daith here. So the White King's starting to take a lot of damage. The Sternsmen and other units in this pocket also taking damage. You can see the bounce power starting to creep back in the favor of the Wood Elves, and a really nice Flock of Doom here as well. Going to be combined with that Sword of Daith to just do a ton of damage to these infantry here. Graveguard trying to push through and get on top of those Deepwood Scouts, but the Deepwood Scouts did just finish off their ammo. But yeah, 1 or 2 hits from the White King brings Durthu down below 1,000 HP, but the White King does indeed go down due to the degeneration effect that all summoned units have. And at this point, it's just going to be Durthu and the Treemen slapping it out with the Sternsmen here. I mean, they will be able to do a tiny bit of damage over time to Durthu, but it's really going to be very minuscule. Graveguard just really don't. Even the Sternsmen, who have amazing melee defense, they just don't have the offensive stats to really get through Treemen. You can see Durthu just about routed there, though. He's down to only 700 hit points, and he is wavering. But this other Treeman is still relatively healthy. He's got about 2,200 hit points left. And yeah, it's going to be tough to come back from. So the Wood Elves are indeed actually going to take this one out, despite the best efforts of the Ghorst Master. Just wasn't enough at the end of the day, and we lost out. So very well played to Zardar. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. That is a build that's very tough to deal with for the vampire counts. You know, the Treeman Death Star is definitely real, and it's very, very painful to deal with. Even with the competitive build, which this one wasn't by any means, it would be tough to deal with. But at the end of the day, I feel like I played relatively well. The Hounds got some really nice work done against some targets in the back line. Likewise, the Varix Reavers helped clean things up. Blood Knights did manage to get an XP Chevron, but didn't quite finish off Durthu, who managed to rack up 337 kills over the course of the battle, which is just absolutely insane. 118 from the Treeman as well. Very good stuff. Ghorst himself only getting 7 kills at the end of the day, and not surprising, but did manage to summon a Graveguard and a White King, so that was nice. 94 on the Sternsmen, 66 with the Varix Reavers. Pretty good all around. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. I know I sure enjoyed playing it. Not too often we get to see the Ghorst Master out, and he's definitely not competitive in any sense, but fun to take sometimes nonetheless. If you guys did enjoy watching, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you next time.